American legends don't come around often, but when they do, there is typically an intriguing story behind their iconic status. This is the case with the Barrett family. After more than 20 years as a Los Angeles attorney, James Barrett decided it was time to switch gears by purchasing a dilapidated vineyard in Napa Valley. This is where he wanted to spend the rest of his professional and personal life.
My father, he likes to joke, but likes to tell stories. And he says, well, I was an attorney for 30 years and my job was making people miserable, and I was good at it. But one of these days I want to get to the pearly gates and talk to St. Peter, so I better do something. So I think he was looking at his everlasting life. And he wanted to do something to make people happy. And that's the way he tells the story.
An obvious beauty, Chateau Montelena was reborn as the Barrett family began producing wines in the early 1970s. But it was the 1976 Paris tasting that really put the Chateau and Napa Valley on the map. In a surprising upset, the winery's 1973 Chardonnay overwhelmingly won the blind tasting. The French were dumbstruck. No American wine had ever beaten the best of France until now.
By the early 70s, we knew the inner circle, the people making wine, knew our wines were world class, but we couldn't get anybody to believe in what we were doing. Chicago, Boston, New York, we couldn't get into those markets. So the Paris tasting does two things. What it meant to Chateau Montelena, people would start looking at our wine and recognizing it for what it was. For the California wine industry, it's a pivotal, a catalytic moment, because that pot of bubbling goo and the energy and all these great wines that are floating around on the inner circle, all of a sudden it's in the New York Times and Time Magazine. So the Americans pick up and say, wow, look at the potential here. And that leads to where we see today, 40 years later.
Producing such an impressive wine isn't a fluke. There is a notable status to this land and where it's situated in the region. Everything from the soil to the climate to the way the grapes are grown and handled at harvest play an important role in the wine that is made here.
Because it's such a great location, we tend to ripen sooner than most locations, and the soils we are on aren't as affected by late season rains because they're really well drained. So from the latter half of August through September, when the weather really makes a huge difference on, what flavors the wines are developing. We'll have days that are 95 degrees, so we get full ripening during the day, and then it really cools down at night. We're right at the base of Mount St. Helena, so the cold air comes sliding down the mountain, and it gives us, cool to cold temperatures that help maintain the structure and the acidity of the wine. God smiled down on this spot and gave us everything we needed to make it a special place to grow wine.
As far as legends go, in this case, it's not just about one person or one idea. Rather, it's a family affair, working in harmony with the earth, bringing the best of the vineyard and vintage to tables around the world.
The job is to bring this piece of ground and this sunlight, this fall day, to somebody's glass in 4 years or 6 years, 8 years. This is Cabernet, so it could be 20, 25 years. It's really a magical part of the human participation in this planet. And that's our mission, is just bring this vineyard to, your glass. Wine is a very human thing. It's part of, human history. The first person that tried to save some of these grapes saved them for 2 weeks and they got wine. It's an immensely satisfying occupation if you think about it in the big picture.
Established in 1882 and situated on 100 acres, Chateau Montelena is an historical icon in Napa Valley. Just one look at the property reveals over a century of hard work, passion, and dreams realized. With the Barrett family at the helm, they're staying true to their roots by continually making exceptional wines while carefully improving and updating every aspect of the estate.
I have also learned over my life that there is no greater steward over land than a small family farmer. We really care about our land. This is the dirt, this piece of the corner of the planet gives us our sustenance, all the employees, everything we have. So all we really truly have is our land. So the solar system, it just kind of fits exactly into our overarching philosophy of, take care of the place. We're the stewards of Chateau Montelena. We have a lot of light. It takes a lot of light to ripen grapes. So let's just capture that and make our electricity. We also are a seasonal business because we use most of our electricity in a 60-day period, but the sun shines all summer long. So we can really save up those photons, those electrons, and use them up for power.
Chateau Montelena was built into the hillside for the earthen cooling effect. The thing about the caves is we had no energy costs. We're not using energy for the aging. And we have the perfect climatic conditions, 60, 61 degrees year-round from the earthen cooling. And it's perfect for aging wine. It's worked out really well.
The cellar has also recently been cautiously retrofitted to include some of the most advanced and energy-efficient technology in the industry. Perhaps most notable is the installation of numerous small fermentation tanks for emphasis on precision winemaking. But the proof of their thoughtful approach to winemaking is in each glass. They have a following that spans decades.
The style of this wine fits with what I like. I like aged wines, aged red wines in particular, and the style of their wine ages really exceptionally. It's also a very balanced wine. There's harmony in the wine. So when you're drinking a 1985 California Cab, it's still got fruit, it's got other nuances that have come out, the tannins have softened, the acids are still there. It's just all balanced. It's wonderful.
We just want to make sure we just keep doing the right thing, every single year, and get so people can really count on us, and people can go around the world, and whether you're in Singapore or Switzerland, and you see Chateau Montelena, said, we know that's a great bottle of wine. That's not without a certain level of responsibility to continue to do that. So that's what we're just going to keep chugging along.
To learn more or schedule a tour, log on to montelena.com.